Let's rock and roll, YouTube.
And here we go.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is
not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time.
I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Did you think no one was watching?
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
your mission.
Suppose we go where no man has gone before.
To reclaim the American dream.
To be given the right of human beings to be afforded equal rights and equal opportunities.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you're hearing his voice, you're hearing the voice of reason.
You've certainly come to the right place.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Wednesday, September 2nd, 2015. I woke up this morning thinking it was Friday, and I had the sad realization that it's not Friday yet, that it is only hump day. But that meant I had 2 more days that I get to share with you guys. So I want to thank everyone for joining me. You could have been anywhere in the world this morning, and I'm just glad that you decided to, you thought I had something of value to share with you. So much on my plate today that I have to just jump right into it. I won't even go over all the things that I'm going to talk about just because there's just not enough time. But if you want segments, skip after commercial breaks and you can get all the different segments. Just a lot going on, starting with Kim Davis, the clerk out of Kentucky. I missed the county name, but the clerk out of Kentucky who has been refusing to issue marriage licenses to gay couples post the Supreme Court decision of June. I believe it was June 26th. She has consistently denied marriage licenses across the board so that she did not have to issue marriage licenses to gay couples. And so there have been lawsuits against her. She sought an injunction from the Supreme Court. And on yesterday, the Supreme Court ruled against her, stating that she needed to perform her duties as a clerk. She still rejected and refused to comply with the Supreme Court. And so she has been ordered in front of a federal judge on tomorrow, on Thursday, and all expectations is that she will be placed in contempt. And with contempt comes essentially a hand slap, a wrist slap, where she'll spend some time, a couple of days in jail, sort of like Judge Joe Brown, off the TV judge. He just got released from a contempt of court charge, and he spent 3 days in jail. I don't know how this is going to play out in terms of her. The only real solution would be for her to resign and or for there to be a recall. I'm not sure their procedures in Kentucky in terms of removing an elected official. So it's not as though the governor can. I don't believe the governor can come in and just force her to resign because she's an elected official. So it makes total sense. A political position, you either resign or you're found, you're impeached, depending on the level of position. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out because it looks as though no one can force her to quit, force her to resign. But being found in contempt over and over again and not being able to perform her duties would give grounds for some type of recall vote, some emergency election to replace her position. But I don't want to talk about the technicalities of whether or not she can stay in office. I want to talk about her argument, her desire to, how can I put it? She believes that she's standing on her religious principles. And that in this position as a clerk for the city, for the clerk in the state of Kentucky, because I didn't recognize the name of the county, folks, so I don't have the name of the county in front of me. But here she is. Those of you watching, she believes that she has the right to both hold this publicly funded position and discriminate against people that the Supreme Court has clearly said you can no longer discriminate against. So she's trying to have her cake and eat it too. Literally, well, not literally, okay, but she wants to be able to take taxpayer dollars, but not have to obey the laws that these taxpayers are paying you to obey. Now, from me personally, there is no question of religious liberties or any type of infringement of her religious liberties, because once you take a position in a public office and you are taking taxpayer dollars, you have a requirement, a duty to do your job. But she's standing on this bogus claim of religious persecution and religious freedom. And I want to read this statement that came off, and this is from the Liberty Council's website. They published this statement of her on yesterday, and I want to read I might read the whole thing. And it starts here. I have worked, and this is Kim Davis speaking. I have worked in the Rowan County. Well, there it is. She's from Rowan County. All right, here we go. I have worked in Rowan County Clerk's office for 27 years as deputy clerk and was honored to be elected as the clerk, blah, 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 blah. Skip all that. Some people say I should resign, but I have done my job well. This year, we're on track to generate a surplus for the county of $1.5 million. I would love to connect that profit motive with the profit motive that we saw the court in Ferguson have, but that's not the argument right now. Second paragraph. In addition to my desire to serve the people of Rowan County, I owe my life to Jesus Christ, who loves me and gave his life for me. All right, this is turning into a sermon. Following the death of my godmother, anyway, she talks about why and how she became a Christian. That's cool. You're a Christian. And she closes out that paragraph. I love my Lord and must be obedient to him and to the word of God. Okay, that's fine. You love Jesus. I love Jesus. Okay, fine. But you're still wrong. Last paragraph. And this is the most interesting part. This is Kim Davis trying to justify why she should stay in office and be able to discriminate. I never imagined a day like this would come where I would be asked to violate a central teaching of scripture and of Jesus himself regarding marriage. Okay, I want to put a pin there. I never imagined a day like this would come where I would be asked to violate. Let me take it off the screen here so I can talk to you people. First of all, I don't like to, unless I'm confronted with a troll, I don't like to attack someone with ad hominems or personal attacks and try to eviscerate them with personal attacks to hurt them, right? But in a sense, she's trolling us, so I'm going to do it to her. She says that she has never imagined a day where she would be asked to violate a central teaching when she has already, on her own accord, violated 4 times a central teaching of the Bible. She has been divorced. She has been married, rather, 4 times, divorced 3 times, married 4 times. So it's okay for her to violate a central teaching of the Bible, just so long as someone else doesn't ask her to violate a central teaching of the Bible. And here's a question. If my religion teaches, and it does, that divorce is wrong, and I was a clerk of the court, could I then deny Kim Davis her 5th marriage license? I mean, she doesn't want to give these people the 1st marriage license, but she's already on her 4th and probably going to go to her 5th. I just think it's the height of hypocrisy that she starts off this paragraph justifying her actions based on biblical teachings when her life is completely antithetical to biblical teachings on marriage. Anyway, to issue a marriage license which conflicts with God's definition of marriage, which she has already have 4 of, with my name affixed to the certificate would violate my conscience. It is not a light issue for me. It is a heaven or hell decision. Flag on the play. Let's stop the tape. This is not a heaven or hell decision. Whether you believe in heaven or hell, the Bible does not say you're going to hell if you perform a gay marriage in your public duties as a public clerk receiving public taxpayer dollars. Affixing your name, and I'm going to get into the lapse of logic that goes on with so many conservative Christians with regard to gay marriage, with regard to everything, but particularly with regard to gay marriage. I'm going to deal with that in a second, but I just want to point out that she's trying to make this, at this point, she's scratching for attention, and she's trying to make herself a martyr, a persecuted Christian in Babylon, in America. And she's doing this because she knows that in the world we live in, she can get speaking engagements for the rest of her life because she was the persecuted Christian who stood against gay marriage. And she knows that she can get a book deal with these Christian bookstores. She knows all the things that she can get. And so she's trying to make herself to be a persecuted person who's standing on the side of heaven and doesn't want to go to hell, when the Bible says absolutely nothing. I've read it front to back twice and in between a dozen times. The Bible says absolutely nothing about you going to hell over gay marriage. It says nothing about gay marriage. All right. So let me get back to this imbecilic woman who's trying to use the Bible to justify her bigotry, which is done on a regular basis here in America. I have, let me back up. It is a heaven or hell decision for me. It is a decision of obedience. I have no animosity towards anyone and harbor no ill will. I just want to discriminate against them. To me, this has never been a gay or lesbian issue. It is about marriage and God's word. It is a matter of religious liberty, which is protected underneath the First Amendment, the Kentucky Constitution, and the Kentucky Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Wrong. And I'll deal with that in a second. Our history is filled with accommodations for people's religious freedoms and conscience. I want to continue to perform my duties, but I also am requesting that requesting what our founders envisioned, that conscience and religious freedom would be protected. I want to be a martyr. I want to be a persecuted Christian so I can get speaking engagements. That is all I'm asking for. I never sought to be in this position, and I would much rather not have been placed in this position, liar. And I have received death threats from people who don't know me, and I harbor nothing against them, blah, blah, blah. Last sentence is the one I want to say. I continue to conserve. I continue to serve the people of Rowan County, but I cannot violate my conscience. Well, I just royally screwed that up. But you get the picture. She cannot violate her conscience. So she wants to collect a check. She wants to collect taxpayers. She wants to collect money from gay and lesbian people, but doesn't want to perform marriages as required by law. Okay. So this is the state of Kentucky, Rowan County Clerk Kim Davis, seeking martyrdom, seeking the persecution complex so that she can, it is not a decision between heaven and hell, first of all. So let's just dismiss that. This is her trying to use her position as a public official. She wants to benefit from secular society, but not comply with secular society law. That's the bottom line. And if she has any confusion in her mind with regard to the difference between marriages performed in church, religious marriages, RITES, the religious rite of marriage, RITES, and the secular governmental rights that come along with a marriage license that is issued by a state. If there is any confusion in her mind, let me help you to understand. Kim Davis, if the government, actually, let me start it here. Can the government come into your church and dictate to your church any of your religious principles? No. The government cannot come into your church and dictate any religious principles, and it cannot dictate the principles of marriage. It cannot tell you who you can and cannot marry in the sight of God, right? In terms of your religion. But what they can tell you is who you can and cannot marry in the sense of what the government recognizes, what is legal in terms of the government. You cannot marry a man and a dog. You cannot marry a man and a child. And there's some religious people who want to marry multiple people, and the government has said no, there would not be, it would be monogamous marriages, right? No polygamous marriages. So it can tell you what it will recognize in terms of our legal system, but it cannot tell you what your religion your religious definition of marriage is. So if the government can't tell you what your religious definition of marriage is, what makes you believe that you have the right to tell the government what their secular definition of marriage is? They're two entirely different things. And you can't expect, you cannot go into this position, and I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt, people. Just bear with me. Just bear with me. You do not go into a publicly funded position that is based on laws and regulations and tell them that their laws are not the authority over your position. And that's what she said in the video. She when the gay couple asked, on whose authority are you denying us? She said, on God's authority. Baby, Kim, listen, honey, you are not a minister. You are not in a church. You are in a courthouse. If you are a minister and in the church, you could deny, and the Supreme Court has already stated this, you could deny them a religious right of marriage. But you are an officer of the court performing a secular ceremony, not even a ceremony, you're issuing a license. So it is not a religious, and I'm just giving her the benefit of the doubt because maybe she clearly doesn't understand the difference. But my guess is she doesn't care about the difference. My guess is that she intends on using this as an opportunity to make herself famous and get a GoFundMe account open in her name so that overnight she can become you become a millionaire. So you're not a minister performing a religious rite. You're issuing a secular license that is based on secular laws. And people need to understand the difference. You are never going to be forced in your churches to do something that's against your religion, not as so long as the First Amendment stands, right? But likewise, if you are in the public square, benefiting from the public square, receiving money from the public, and you're providing services to the public, you must comply with the rules, the laws, the legislation that we have agreed upon, ostensibly agreed upon, because you are benefiting from those same laws. You can't have your cake. So you don't have the religious freedom. And here's the thing. She's talking about, this is the biggest thing that bothers me about these evangelical Christians. It drives me batty. They're talking about their religious freedoms being violated, but you do not have the religious freedom to violate someone else's rights. Let me say that again. You do not have the religious freedom to violate someone else's rights, period. So your religious freedoms go as far as your personal life and your collective life with your church and your sanctuary, but your religious freedoms cannot impose on someone else's freedoms. People have that concept in their mind only when it benefits them, but then they ignore that concept when it is detrimental to what they want to accomplish in their agenda. All right, caller, what is your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, Benjamin, this is PJ, Pedro, one of the guys who won your book.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for calling in.
No problem. The book is great, by the way. I'm a couple chapters in. I'm really glad you're finally touching on this subject because it's one of the ones that got me hooked on your show when it was on the subject of gay marriage and the Supreme Court decision. All right, I want to ask you a more personal question, like on the subject of using religious freedom to oppress other people. I've been on and off about this subject all day yesterday on Facebook, reading what people are saying about Kim Davis. And what a lot of people, the two major things I've noticed are, A lot of Christians don't seem to realize that there's a difference between secular marriage, like a legal secular marriage, and like a religious ceremony marriage,
right?
A. And B, they seem to be under the impression that we are a quote-unquote Christian nation to the point that they can enforce Christian morality on non-believers.
Right.
What I want to ask you is, at this point in time, even though we have all this information, there seems to be a lot of people willfully ignorant that those two things are not true. How would you, as a Christian who does understand that those aren't true, how would you start to help like the country realize that this is a secular nation? Like, what would you do, or how do you think we'd get to that point?
So here's the thing. I've kind of resigned to the point where I think people know this, but don't want to concede it, because it is so beneficial. It's such a Christian privilege to go underneath the auspices, or the not auspices, that's not the word I want, but to go underneath the guise of America being a Christian nation, because it has been convenient, it has been comfortable. We never had to be uncomfortable in the public before, right? It's not until now we're confronting things that are against, clearly in the Bible, it speaks against a lot of the things that America says is acceptable. And so now it's becoming uncomfortable. And so we're trying to hold on to we're trying to hold on to the old glory days where the only religion anyone ever spoke of in America was Christianity. Now, I think they're doing that intentionally and willfully. And I believe they understand that America is a secular nation, and that it is not a Christian nation. But because of that, we have freedoms to be as religious in America as we want to be. I think some people are smart. I think the pastors, let's start here. The preachers in the church, they're smart enough to know this, right? The people in the audience, they're emotional. They're emotional about it because they're so afraid that America is changing and all these sorts of things. I think the reality is we just keep moving forward, because ask people now, I asked them about the gay marriage decision in July and June. How has that changed their life as a religious person? It hasn't, right? Their pastor doesn't have to perform any gay marriages. They don't have to go to any gay marriage. The only thing that they have to do is, if they are a public business, they cannot deny or discriminate. And so I think so long as we just keep moving forward, then eventually Christians will wake up and say, you know what? That decision in 2015 didn't start the Christian Holocaust like some people predicted. That's about the best that we can do, because outside of that, people are willfully ignorant. They don't want to see the changes. And so they're pretending like they don't know. And preachers are preaching against it, when in actuality, they know in the back of their minds, the very reason they have the right to vote, the right to preach against it, is the same reason that gay people are going to have the right to get married. The Constitution protects all of our rights, and sometimes it gets ugly and it's competing, and you have these type of confrontations, but that is the nature of the United States of America. That's about the best answer I can give.
Okay, man. I personally disagree on religious viewpoints between us. You know, you're a man of God. I'm non-theistic, but I love what you're doing, man. Keep fighting the good fight. Do your best to keep informing people, dude.
We'll do my best. Thanks so much for the call, and enjoy the book. Appreciate that. And I'm not so much what can I say? If anybody has seen the movie Contact, Matthew McConaughey has a line in there that I actually agree with. He said he was going to be a man of the cloth, but he couldn't really handle the cloth part. So, I'm not really accepted that much in religious circles anymore, because a lot of people they have hanged their entire argument on life around this gay marriage controversy, and which is not even a controversy. But when you consider the fact that we all have the freedom to be whoever we want to be, and the government can't stop that, then you have to also realize that people who disagree with you are going to have that same freedom, and people who believe something differently. That doesn't mean that we have to be enemies. That just means that we have to respect each other's freedoms and stop using religion as an excuse to deny someone else their freedoms and their liberties. And we're getting past that point now. All right, folks, I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, I want you to join the conversation, 857-600-0518. And I'm going to deal with Glenn Beck, Black Lives Matter, the Democratic Party, James O'Keefe. I've got a lot of stuff going on today, and I want you to be a part of it. This is the Benjamin Dixon Show, and we'll be back right after this.
When you're ready to lose weight, why count, track, and worry over every meal? Jenny Craig makes it simple. Just walk into a neighborhood Jenny Craig center or give us a call. You'll meet your dedicated personal consultant who helps you reach your goals. Together, you'll pick out delicious Jenny Craig foods that you'll love and design a menu that fits your life. And the best part is that you can get started losing weight right away. Don't wait any longer to take advantage of our best offer ever. Call 1-800-JENNY20 or visit jennycraig.com.
This is the sound of salmonella gyrating on your undercooked chicken. And it looks like Mom might be taking it out a little early. Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. So use a thermometer to cook each type of meat to the right temperature. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
On the next episode of Recipes for Disaster.
I'm making beef sliders for my friend Sandy. Nana taught me to always pull meat off the grill early so it's extra juicy.
Use a food thermometer to ensure ground beef is 160 degrees, or you could make people really sick. Sandy didn't think twice about the slider she ate until yoga class, when a nasty case of food poisoning turned her downward-facing dog into upward-moving lunch. Watch Recipes for Disaster at foodsafety.gov and learn the steps Maria unwittingly leaves out. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
Warm fleece on a cool day. I want to be a bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show.
All right.
If you're hearing his voice, you're hearing the voice of reason.
All right, folks. Okay, so those of you watching on YouTube, I forgot to put on the phone number that you can call in, 857-600-0518. Again, that's 857-600-0518 if you want to join the conversation. I'm trying to pull up the different comments that I have going on here. So hang on, let me switch screens over here and get to the comments on this particular blah, 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 blah. And then I'm going to move on to Black Lives Matter versus the Democratic Party. And talk about that a little bit, but I just want to read this comment 1 second. So, all right. So in other news, Black Lives Matter has rejected the Democratic Party. And I started talking about this on Monday, and I did not have the statement from Black Lives Matter on Monday, but it was up. I just looked in the wrong place, and I want to share this statement with you and discuss why it's important. Sunday, it was up actually on Sunday, so obviously I was just looking in the wrong place. The following statement is in response to the Democratic National Committee resolution expressing support for the Black Lives Matter movement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A resolution signaling the Democratic National Committee's endorsement that Black Lives Matter in no ways implies an endorsement of the DNC by the Black Lives Matter network, nor was it done in consultation with us. More specifically, I'm skipping to the next paragraph. More specifically, the Black Lives Matter network is clear that a resolution from the Democratic Party does not won't bring the changes we seek. Resolutions with concrete changes are just without concrete changes are just business as usual. Promises are not policies. We demand freedom for Black bodies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Last paragraph. While the Black Lives Matter network applauds political change towards making the world safer for Black life, our only endorsement goes to the protest movement we've built together with Black people nationwide, not the self-interested candidates, parties, or political machines seeking our vote. Okay, so I'm going to give them an applause just because, not because I necessarily agree with everything, but I do agree with some of the things in there. But the number one thing I agree with is the fact that the Democratic Party made a play to get and try to co-opt Black Lives Matter. Now, I'm not going to say that their decision to make this resolution was completely political, but you can't calculate in sincere intent when you're dealing with politics. right? When you're dealing with variables and trying to equate what's going to be next, you don't equate in the personal intent of an individual in the organization. Surely somebody in the Democratic National Committee was pulling for this, was pushing for this, and they're sincere about it, et cetera, et cetera. But that says nothing in terms of the broader political party. When you look at the broader political party, it only does things that is in its best interest. Okay, now that political science analysis set aside, that's the only place that I really agree with Black Lives Matter on this statement, because they realize clearly, that the Democratic National Committee making a resolution doesn't change the problem, and that in fact, this was a play to get their votes. Outside of that, let me tell you, I did discuss this on Monday, but I can't reiterate this enough. I've been in a lot of debates about that since Monday, whether or not Black Lives Matter should align themselves with a political party or whether or not they should align themselves with a political ideology. Here's the thing. We're not in normal times. We're not in rational times where we're dealing with two rational parties or two rational ideologies. Yes, there are some conservatives who are great people. I personally know some. This is my I have black friends moment, right? I personally have some white conservative friends who are just great people who I identify with more than some people who have my same pigmentation, right? Because they're hardworking, they are taking care of their kids. All they want to do is raise their family and pay their bills. That's my life story. So I'm not saying that all conservatives, the rank and file conservatives, are idiotic and unreasonable. But I will say this about the machine, the Republican Party, and conservatism as a whole has moved into this unreasonable place where they cannot be, to be redundant, reasoned with. And they have been playing to the lowest common denominator of their base so long that it's no longer possible to distinguish between the Republican machine and the racist base that they have been playing to since Richard Nixon. And it has become so absurd that they're no longer hidden, that the ignorant, racist, inbred, just backwards people are hiding in the shadows because they have always been here in the United States. That's no longer the case. The case is such that now they are in the forefront because of the type of politicians that are being bred out of the Republican Party. And I'm saying all this with regard to Black Lives Matter, and I'll get to it in a minute. You also have this media machine that is an arm of the Republican Party that has been doing the bidding of the Southern strategy for the last 15 years, feeding the racist trolls in the Republican Party. And now they have all just imploded and become the most insidious, ridiculous political entities that I think we have seen definitely in my lifetime. I won't say in all of American history, because if you read some of the books from the 1700s, the first election, I messed up. I can tell you the first year, the first election, but in the first elections that we had post-Constitution, we saw some really crazy stuff happening. But in terms of my lifetime, and in terms of probably since Richard Nixon, this party and this ideology has become so extreme that there is nothing to be had discussing or trying to convince the modern Republican Party with regards to Black Lives Matter. Nothing whatsoever. And let me show you that I'm not being hyperbolic or dramatic. I'm going to pull up this picture. And most of you probably have already seen this in the news. Fox News is now asking whether or not Black Lives Matter should be considered a hate group. Let me pull this up on the screen. Hasselbeck, Elizabeth Hasselbeck from Fox News wants to know why Black Lives Matter hasn't been classified as a hate group. And as if that wasn't enough, you also have this officer on Fox News saying that Black Lives Matter is a murder movement, because of course they want to blame all of Black Lives Matter. They want to lay the responsibility of what happened in Texas, the officer getting killed, at the feet of all of Black Lives Matter, because they want to invalidate, they want to delegitimize Black Lives Matter. Because the true reason, and let me skip all of the flowery stuff. The true reason is because they realize if we ever start to unpack and unravel white supremacy in the United States of America, then we have to have an economic conversation that is going to be detrimental to the top 1%. Now, you can go watch all of my other videos and find out how I make those connections, but I don't have time to unpack that right now. They are not against Black people and Black Lives Matter simply because they hate Black people and Black Lives Matter. Not Fox News, not the Republican Party, not the people on Wall Street who are funding Fox News, not Roger Ailes. They can care less about whether you're Black or white. The only color they care about is green. And they realize that you cannot have a reasonable conversation to unpack and unravel white supremacy in the United States of America without discussing the economic ramifications and the effects of the economic disparity that has been passed down generation to generation to generation. Wealth is built from generation to generation and generation. And if wealth has been cut from a demographic, then poverty is passed from generation to generation to generation. And that is why you see that African Americans are disproportionately impoverished, because we have been fighting to get the smallest modicum of wealth for since we've been free. And every time you see wealth built in the Black community, Black Wall Street, you see that it is utterly destroyed or it is exploited. It is taken and extracted from the community. And so they don't want to have that economic conversation because it will expose all of the economic injustices and disparities that are at the core of white supremacy. That is why Fox News is doing the bidding of Roger Ailes and his Wall Street buddies, not because they just don't like Black Lives Matter. Now, they accomplish this and they stay in power on the backs of the ignorant, inbred country bumpkin like this video that I posted on my channel, who was threatening to kill Black people with his shotgun. You know, they accomplish it by feeding those people this hatred and feeding them the propaganda. Those people who just don't like Black people, those people who just despise Black people, you know, they are the ones that sustain the Republican Party and sustain and watch Fox News and make make it possible for us to never unravel white supremacy and unravel the economic factors that are born out of white supremacy. Now, all of that to go back to Black Lives Matter, basically poo-pooing on the Democratic National Committee. I understand that the DNC just wants your vote. Is there anybody in the room who is not clear on that? That the Democratic Party simply wants to maintain power. They are not the Democratic Party is not a moral institution. It is amoral. It could do good. It could do whatever. It is simply there to maintain power. It has incorporated planks into its platform of groups of people who they are willing to represent so long as those people give them votes. That is how politics works. And the reason I disagree with Black Lives Matter is because I don't think they realize how politics really works. Because if you did, then you would realize you have Party A, who desperately needs your votes, can't make it without your vote, and can't, you know, they at this point will probably do anything you say because they need your votes. And then you have Party B, who doesn't give a damn about your vote, doesn't care. You know, they know that they're shooting themselves in the foot, but they are confident that they can continue to stoke enough racial animus in the white Southern strategy that they can keep maintaining power. The only people they're really concerned about, if you listen to what they talk about, they're only really concerned about women in general and Hispanics. Those are the only two demographics that they're really concerned about breaking into. They're not concerned about breaking into the black demographic because they have done so good with the Southern strategy. Now, with Black Lives Matter, I understand that you want to reject them. If this is a power play, I get it. That's fine. But there's a stage in poker that simply you have to know when to hold them, when to fold them. And then eventually, actually, poker is not the best analogy. The analogy I'm looking for is that it's a relationship. That's the analogy I'm looking for. In relationships, you can play power games only up to a certain point. And at some point, you're going to make the person who's chasing you, your suitor, you're going to make them say, you know what? F it. I like you. I want you. I kind of need you, but I would rather suffer than to have to deal with you. And that you can only play power games so long. There you go. So if this is a power play, I get it. Do your thing, Black Lives Matter. But don't be so deluded by your own hype. Don't believe your hype so much that you think that you can change the system outside of the system. Let me put it like this. There's a clock on the wall for Black Lives Matter. And that clock is November of 2016. When the next president is elected, there will be no more campaigns for at least 2 years for you to go and disrupt. There will be nowhere else for you to go to drum up the support that you rightfully deserve, right? And I'm not talking about the moral question, because I agree with them on the moral question. Obviously, you've heard plenty of my videos and shows about why I support Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about the practical implications of poo-pooing on a political party that is now coming after you, and they're your suitors now. You can only do it so long, because once that party wins or loses, they no longer need you in the manner that they originally needed you. So you get your concessions before they get in office. You get your concessions now. You do it now. You have 10 points. Campaign Zero has 10 points that they want to implement. You get commitments now. You don't play the game of, well, let's see what the Republican Party is going to do. Not today, because the Republican Party is completely incapable of addressing or doing anything other than what they're currently doing, which is playing to the lowest common denominator. If we were in more reasonable times, I would tell you to play the Democratic Party off of the Republican Party nonstop until you get exactly what you want. That would be the brilliant strategy, and siding with any political party would be detrimental to your cause. However, we are not in reasonable times. And you now have the stage with a national party that has the ability to enact, if they get in power, to enact the legislation that you are demanding. But if you keep, and I'm not so much worried about this first time, I'm talking about the overall character and the overall culture of Black Lives Matter, of staying outside of the political fray. If you keep shitting on the very people who are going to be voting on your legislation, then eventually they're going to say, you know what, we'll just do it without you. We'll pass what we think is good. We'll pass what we think is acceptable. And they will do it completely without you. The clock is ticking. Black Lives Matter needs to get firm commitments from politicians before they get in office, because at that point, you will see political parties do what they always do, which is they kind of just move on, and the narrative moves on. So got a lot going on in what I just said. I probably should unpack it a lot more, but I think I have enough other videos and shows out there for you to go back and listen to understand where I'm coming from. It is a political game at this point. And if the game is to hold out, then I think you can only hold out so long when you're in unreasonable times, when Democrats know full well that there is nothing for you over on the Republican Party side at all. Zero. You will not get anything. You get nothing.
So you get nothing. You lose.
Good day, sir.
That is what is waiting for you on the Republican Party side. And so I say this, I say you go over here with these progressives that desperately need your vote and let them know that if you don't do A through Z, then you will not get our vote. And I think that's the only way you can handle it. All right, folks, I'm so out of time. All right, let me go to a quick commercial break. When I come back, I'm going to deal with the troll, James O'Keefe. You can join the conversation, 857-600-0518. Benjamin Dixon Show.
You're tuned in to the Benjamin Dixon Show. Join the conversation, 857-600-0518.
Looking for the right business opportunity? Need the right product, the right marketing plan, and the absolute best training in the world? Well, look no further. The Elite Team. Every leader in time excels. They believe the key ingredients in becoming successful in life and in business are just a keystroke away. Go to www.eliteteamsite.com. That's www.eliteteamsite.com. The Elite Team has a system in place that will move you closer to achieving your goals and dreams. Visit www.eliteteamsite.com or TonyFlemingEnterprises.com today.
College is important, but it can also be expensive. College Planning Services is a group of educators, administrators, counselors, and other licensed professionals that work together to provide the necessary services, networks, and information to reach students that are serious about getting a college education. College Planning Services partners with financial institutions, corporate sponsors, and other major players in the global market to strategize in building a pool of information regarding financial aid, scholarships, and funding information to assist students in preparing to access the essential resources to build upon their path to an educational future. Learn more at collegeplanningtoday.com and let us help you start your college career.
Do you want to take your business to the next level? Ultimate Business Solutions provides the support you need to increase your customer base and sell more products and services online. Specializing in graphic arts, web development, and internet marketing, Ultimate Business Solutions creates the face of your business. If you're looking for a custom logo, dynamic website, or popping marketing material, call Ultimate Business Solutions today at 404-704-2197 or visit www.ultimatebizsolutions.com. Ultimate Business Solutions. Let us create your future.
Do you have tax issues, owe back taxes, or need tax relief? Contact L&B Tax Service today. L&B offers you over 15 years of expertise and first-class tax service for individuals, professionals, and business owners. With nationwide service, you can easily find a location near you. Contact one of our tax professionals through our website, lbtaxservice.com. That's www.lbtaxservice.com. L&B Tax Service Incorporated. Tax professionals that you can trust.
You've tuned in to the Benjamin Dixon Show.
All right. Welcome back. Got a tweet here from Alex J. Ivy at Alex J. Ivy. The BPD show, I agree. Republican Party isn't really conservative anymore, but a party that pushes separation and exclusion to help the rich. I think you said it better than I did, Alex. They push separation and exclusion to help the rich. Without a shadow of a doubt, that is what the Republican Party has become. And it's amazing that the people, the poorest white people who need all of the social reforms of the progressive era desperately are so enraged by the propaganda of white supremacy through Fox News and conservatism that they would rather live in abject poverty and cut Medicare and cut Social Security, which they need, cut welfare, which they need. They would rather do all of that just to spite African Americans. And at the same time, they're destroying themselves. That is what the Republican Party has become, and that is where they are, and that is why Black Lives Matter can get absolutely nothing from them. And if the Republican Party changes their stripes and all of a sudden starts embracing Black Lives Matter, I will donate to the Republican National Committee. That's about as crazy as I would get. That is crazy. I want to show you these images from Glenn Beck. And this is another reason Black Lives Matter has nothing that they can get from conservatism today. The modern conservatism movement. This is Glenn Beck marching in Birmingham at an All Lives Matter rally. Now, we've discussed in depth why it is both disingenuous and insulting and unnecessary to say all lives matter when we're talking about Black lives mattering. It's not that any life matters more, it's that Black lives matter, Black lives matter less in this modern, and that there's nothing that you can do to benefit the Black community that will not benefit the entire nation, because the Black community is at the top of all of the negative statistics in the nation. And we're at the bottom of all of the positive statistics in the nation. So there's nothing that you can do to help Black Lives Matter that will not reverberate through the entire nation. So saying all lives matter is not a way of being above the fray. It is a way of jabbing Black Lives Matter. And this is what Glenn Beck, the poster boy for religious conservatism, did at this rally in Birmingham, Alabama. As I click through these images, and of course I wanted to show you Chuck Norris is there. I don't know why. Just Chuck Norris was there. And then they have a blimp, a small blimp flying around saying all lives matter. And that you don't want to see him yet, James O'Keefe. We'll talk about him next. But this is what you're up against. And conservatism, Glenn Beck and all his shills, they have done all they can to undermine the Black Lives Matter movement, because it does wonders, right? It helps you get in good with the racists in your base, as well as it helps you to avoid ever having that economic conversation that would unravel white supremacy, right? That would undo all of the systemic problems that we see in the Black community, which is why I lean more towards Bernie Sanders than I ever would Hillary Clinton. Because Hillary Clinton is status quo. She's not going to change any of the economic factors that contribute to the disparities that we see in the Black community, or any community for that matter. Bernie Sanders' economic revolution would change the factors across the board. That's why I lean towards Bernie Sanders, because you absolutely have to address the economics of it if you want to bring a holistic solution. So anyone who's holding out to see what the Republican Party is going to do, or for those who think that they're so above, that they sound good when they say that they are above the political fray, and they feel like that this is the right, this is what you're dealing with. An entire contingency of political activists who completely dismiss the concept of Black Lives Matter. Bill O'Reilly has declared war on Black Lives Matter, and Glenn Beck is out here doing a rally of all lives matter. And of course, they had their obligatory black faces in the crowd, one of which was, I think, Alveda King. Her only claim to fame is that she's Dr. King's niece, but she is on a regular basis that face on Fox News who's going to say, the black face on Fox News who says what the white faces on Fox News wish they can say but can never get away with saying. That's Alveda King. And so they have completely disregarded the entire concept. And so that's why I say, play hardball, but also realize as much as the Democratic Party and progressives, as much as their back is up against the wall and they need your vote, Black Lives Matter if they actually want to implement policies. And this is the caveat. If you want to implement policies that are going to address the issues that you have been protesting about, you do not have an option in the Republican Party. You could always vote with the Green Party, but if you ask me, that's not an option. So it's like, an immovable force meets an unstoppable force. You guys are, it's going to be an interesting campaign season. I want to talk about James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe is the troll this conservative troll, and I will call him that because if you ever watch his work, he basically is was a kid. He's grown up. I guess he's a little bit older, but he's the guy who successfully brought down Acorn, which was a grassroots community organization that helped people of color, minorities in general, impoverished people register to vote and do different things in the community. It was an effective organization, but it did have its problems. And James O'Keefe, if you remember, around 2009, he's the imbecile that dressed up like a pimp and took a girl who was dressed up like a prostitute into Acorn and allegedly got video of them trying to help him with his prostitute and start a child prostitution ring. This is what he cut his video up to look like. And Fox News, I don't have to relitigate that. You would go back and you can see Fox News ran his video on loop for months, so long that eventually Congress defunded Acorn and Acorn shut down shop. After the fact, when it came to light and they saw the full footage, they realized that James O'Keefe edited the video so much that it was absolutely dishonest and did not represent what actually happened. For example, he met with a Hispanic worker for Acorn on the West Coast, and he made the video look like this Acorn employee was going to bring over or help him bring over illegal immigrants for a child prostitution ring. And when in actuality, what he did was he gathered all the information he could and immediately turned it over to the police so that the police could stop this illegal prostitution ring. But Fox News didn't care about that. Republicans didn't care about that. They still went ahead and defunded Acorn, and Acorn fell apart. Acorn had its problems. Acorn was not run efficiently, and there was all kinds of ways that Acorn could have done things better to avoid this. But what they were accused of by Fox News and this troll, James O'Keefe, was absolutely not factual. So I bring up this guy because he has finally outdone himself. He had a press conference on yesterday, and the press conference was allegedly to expose Hillary Clinton's campaign for campaign finance fraud or breaking the law, essentially. And he had a press conference where he got in DC, he got a massive presence from the press. And he presented this evidence that was supposed to be groundbreaking and shocking and earth-shattering and was supposed to bring down the Clinton campaign of Hillary Clinton accepting money from foreign nationalists. Right? That's the premise of his entire presentation on yesterday. And when he ran the footage, because everyone showed up, everyone was expecting this damning information. Here's the kid that brought down Acorn. Of course, he must have, what he's getting ready to say about Hillary Clinton is going to bring down the Hillary Clinton campaign. When he played the video, it showed his operative, a person who worked for him, standing next in line to a Canadian citizen in New York at a Hillary Clinton campaign rally, trying to buy a t-shirt. In the video, the Clinton employee said, "You're from Canada. We cannot sell you a t-shirt. It's against campaign finance." And so his operative, James O'Keefe's operative, said, "Well, she drove all the way down from Canada. Can I buy the t-shirt for her?" She took the $20 or however much it was. I didn't see the denomination. And she took it and she purchased the t-shirt for them. And this was the scandal that he gathered 24 reporters from the largest journalism outlets in the country to say that Hillary Clinton's campaign was breaking the law. This was the evidence. And it got so bad in the interview, it got so bad in his release that a reporter from the Daily Beast, she asked a question. She said, "James, are you pranking us?" And then later on, he came back to a follow-up question and she asked the same question again. She said, "I'm sorry, is this a joke? Are you pranking us?" And of course, he pontificated about this not being a joke with the Hillary Clinton campaign. I'm mentioning this, one, because it's funny, because, you know, once you're a one-hit wonder and you try to outdo yourself, you end up trolling yourself. James O'Keefe has now become the laughingstock of the entire nation of rational people. I have to put that caveat there. People who are remotely rational are laughing at this dude because his employee actually violated 2 campaign finance laws, FEC laws. She violated it by, 1, funneling the money to buy the t-shirt for a national, for a foreign national. So she took the money and became an intermediary, breaking the law. And then 2, she signed the paperwork with false information, which is also against the law. So where they're trying to pin Hillary Clinton campaign for breaking the law over a $20 t-shirt, his team actually broke 2 laws over over a t-shirt. So it's funny in that regards, but what's not funny is the fact that there are people online right now who swear that this is going to bring down Hillary Clinton. There are people who swear that this is evidence that Hillary Clinton is willing to break the law, and that this is such a groundbreaking, earth-shattering revelation by James O'Keefe. He's done it again, ladies and gentlemen. He's done it again. He's brought down Hillary Clinton. And the rest of us are sitting around looking like, what are you talking about? This is the most ridiculous sting operation. This is even more ridiculous than him dressing up like a pimp. At least when he dressed up like a pimp, he actually accomplished something, even though it was accomplished underneath by virtue of a bunch of lies. But now he's outdone himself and he's trolled himself, and he wants to be considered a legitimate journalist. And now he has become the laughingstock of all of the rational, reasonable people. That's James O'Keefe. Now let's see. There's one other thing that I want to go over, ladies and gentlemen. I know I'm out of time, but when I talk about rational, reasonable people, I generally dismiss most conservatives as being unreasonable and irrational. And when we talk about the conversation of race, I generally point out a lot of the racism that I see on the white side. This is overtime. This is bonus footage. And I posted a video on yesterday of this Yosemite Sam looking inbred white supremacist who basically has threatened all of anyone who would dare come protest in his city. And people ask me, why did I post that video? Why am I giving him airtime? Because on Facebook, before he took it down, he got almost 150,000 views. And people who took his video and shared his video in other circles, I think he's almost up to 1 million views. Social media has made it possible for people to, just like I'm doing now, right? Just like I'm doing now, I'm getting a message out and I'm talking to people. But when you say something that inflammatory, it gets around so much quicker. And there are millions of people who have seen this. And so I'm sharing it because I need people to realize what we're really up against. Because this guy, I'm going to play a portion of his video. This guy is representative of a portion of the conservative base who guaranteed is a sycophant of Fox News, guaranteed that he is lockstep with the Tea Party Republicans. And as much as I do this and expose the white idiocy that I see, somebody sent me a video this morning of a black man who was just as inflammatory, just as violent, just as a supremacist as this white guy. So I'm going to play this video and make some commentary over it because it actually speaks for itself. So I spliced the 2 videos together. I didn't splice them. I put them back to back. It's only a minute and I want you to watch it, or I want you to listen to it on the radio and I want you to watch it.
We're not going to take it anymore. We're done with it. It ends now, and it ends in the state of Texas, you sons of bitches. You Black Panthers and you thugs, you Black Lives Matter bullshit, you bunch of freaking retards, you better run and you better hide. because we're looking at videos, we're pulling names and addresses, and we're going to hunt you sons of bitches down because we're pissed off. And ain't nobody going to stop us now, you dirty bastard. Last freaking thing some of you son of bitches are here is that noise right there when we come in your goddamn house. Don't ever threaten another cop in Texas. Don't ever threaten another white person. And you black bastards, you goddamn Panthers and shit, try to come to another town and try to march. See what happens to you, because I ain't playing.
It's about to go down. It's open season on killing white people and crackers. The Black Lives Matter movement wasn't enough. It's not safe no more to be white in America. Lurking behind any corner could be an angry black man ready to take your ass out. It's a reality. It's open season on killing whites and police, and they better make some serious changes, social changes at this point, because it ain't looking good. And they gonna get embarrassed because just when they tried to make themselves look invincible and untouchable and we got this under control, clearly there's some black people out here that's about to show you that you might not just have it like that. It's King Noble Black Supremacy. Join my website.
Nope. We will not be joining your website. All right. I played that ignorance and I juxtaposed it side by side so that you can see the ignorance that comes from the violence that is bred from ignorance. I get accused of making false equivalencies, but there is no false equivalency in this except for this fact that the latter guy who's talking about black supremacy, you can expect that people who have been oppressed for hundreds of years and treated a certain way for hundreds of years, that they will turn violent. But ignorance to me is ignorance. And I want to make it clear that I am not fighting against white supremacy to turn it over to any other type of supremacy. I don't support this Yosemite Sam looking backwoods, inbred country, self-proclaimed redneck, and his plight to kill black people any more than I support this fake Mufasa looking wannabe pseudo intellectual revolutionary saying that it's open season to kill white people. There is, and I'm playing this because they have way more views than I have, and then the young, I mean, this guy had 3 million views this morning, and the white supremacist guy had like at this point, I think he has around 2 million. That's a lot of people, not all of them who support it, obviously, but if you read the comments, you'll see that there are a lot of people on both sides who support both this ignorance. So here's my suggestion as I get ready to get out of here. One, if you support the first guy or the second guy, please leave my channel now. Unsubscribe from my show, because if you can't see the ignorance in both videos, then you're not a person that is going to appreciate my show anyway. So you might as well leave, right? I'm not going to talk bad about you. Just leave, because you're not going to appreciate my show. Because wherever I see ignorance and wherever I see bigotry and whenever I see something that is detrimental to the progress of humanity, I will oppose it. I don't care what skin color they are in. And I refuse. I would no more follow that white supremacist any more than I will follow that black supremacist. That's one. Two, my suggestion is for all the people out there who really genuinely want a race war, because there are, you know, that white guy is not alone. That black guy is not alone. I don't care whose grievances. I don't care. Whoever wants it, I have a suggestion. Get all your guns, both sides. Get all of your troops. Get all of your militants. Get all of your paramilitary groups. Get everybody together. We will even donate more guns. We will find all the guns in the cities that we want to get rid of, and we will give them to you. And you guys all go out to a desert where the police won't bother you, where the military won't bother you. And if you really want a race war, then you guys deserve each other. Meet out in the desert, and hopefully none of you will come back. And I think humanity will be better off because of it. You guys have a great day. I'll see you next time.
And until that moment comes, when we, the Americans, are able to accept the fact that on that continent we are trying to forge a new identity for which we need each other, that I am not a ward of America. I am one of the people who built the country. Until this moment.
And we are brothers. It's not a question of Jews or Christians or Muslims. We're all in the same boat.
We need each other.
Love is a condition so powerful. It may be that which holds the stars in the firmament.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
I come to you today to say that we can build a newer and better nation. I say we can do so, that we must do so, and that we will do so.
You've tuned in to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at www.thebenjamindixonshow.com.